We were going to go to the Foundry.
Yeah.
In Fox Valley.
Yeah. That one.
They have somebody comes in and does it, but they like move theirs to the next night.
Well, that's fun. Was it like your neighbors or something?
Yeah. So friends of ours whose kids are in like Max class, and the one family has a kid in every class that my 3 oldest are in. So
12 kids.
And then,
Kid in every grade.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was fun. We came in 3rd.
Oh, yeah. You made it sound like it was so hard that you didn't do well, but third's pretty good.
There were 3
Yeah.
groups.
There's actually only 2.
How many were there really, do you think?
10 or 12.
All right.
Yeah,
respectable.
I like randomly fell into one. We went out to dinner, and there was at this Mexican restaurant, and they were like doing trivia. I was with Mary and her mom and the kids, and so we were like right next to the table doing it. He's like, "Come on!" And I was like, we're not even going to be here all night, but like, all right."
Was it Sexy Rexy at the local option?
It was not.
Welcome to our Film Fathers podcast, the definitive podcast about fatherhood, film, and fatherhood and film. This is Jelani, and with me as always are a spoiled brat who doesn't want to grow up, and a guy who rented the penthouse because it's the best, Martin and Brady.
When I was a little girl, my mama used to lock me in the attic when I was bad, which was pretty often, and I would pretend I was a princess trapped in a tower by a wicked queen, and then suddenly this knight, on a white horse with these colors flying, would come charging up and draw his sword, and I would wave, and he would climb up the tower and rescue me. But never in all the time that I had this dream did the knight say to me, "Come on, baby, I'll put you up in a great condo."
I don't have Instagram. I'm an adult man.
This week, we're feeling the Oscar buzz. This year's Best Picture winner, Anora, surprised a lot of people and took the awards show by storm with its bold storytelling, layered characters, and a fresh take on love, class, and personal transformation. But it's not the first time Hollywood has told a story about a woman navigating a complicated world and finding herself in the process. Over 30 years ago, Pretty Woman redefined the modern fairy tale, giving us one of the most iconic romantic films of all time. Who doesn't love a hooker?
Really?
Guys, Anora was just another great movie for my big picture window in the front of the house.
The first, 40 minutes?
I mean,
Yeah.
I told Mary the
think it was
next
about
day, I was
50.
like, she's like, how was that movie? And I'm like, a porn? I'm not even sure. Like, I saw a lot. I'm like, I saw a whole lot of Mikey Madison.
I think I was...
But she's
glad
naked for an hour.
I'm glad I
plus.
watched it all in one sitting, though, because it's not the same movie from the beginning. Like you said, like the first half is a fairy tale, and it's good because they try to make it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And the director does a really good job. And I was like, why is this where it's going to go? Is it just going to be basically Pretty Woman? And I was like, I can't believe this won the Best Picture. But then by the end, I was like, oh, okay.
Must have been love, but it's over now.
It's over now. Yeah. And it totally shifted into like the second half was just this weird like it was almost like a screwball comedy then or something.
Yes.
Like a farce,
Like Hangover.
Yeah,
They're looking for him.
Yeah. Like they're trying to find, and it was funny and crazy in a different way. And then by the end, it's just so slow and sad and good. And it ended in such a, which we'll get to. I'm getting way ahead of ourselves, but I didn't, I enjoyed it. I really did like it. I didn't think, and it was weird because yes, if I didn't watch the whole thing, I would have been like, I don't get this movie.
Well, I would think you would always watch the whole thing, but I definitely.
I mean,
watched
sometimes
it
you split the
For sure.
viewing, you know.
Yeah.
And if I came back to
all. We're
it,
old, and we can't always make it through a whole movie.
and it was a long one too. Not that long, but it was.
No,
it wasn't.
but
It wasn't super short. It was over 2 hours.
100%. Yeah, which is our line. I agree with almost everything you said there. I definitely enjoyed it.
Great. End of podcast. Roll tape.
As always.
We're not there yet. We still have a third person. But it was. I didn't know much about this at all.
Same.
I watched a little bit of the Oscars and saw Sean Baker win every award that was offered up, and Mikey Madison won and the movie won, and it was like, damn, this is the movie that of 2025. And I haven't seen all the movies, but this is a pretty damn good movie. And I could see why it picked up a lot of accolades.
Yeah. I was the same way. I didn't know much about it. I watched bits and pieces of the Oscars, but I didn't see, how many things it had won. It was very interesting to look at this in comparison to Pretty Woman, because that one was nominated for 1 Oscar in 1990, and this won 7. It's just like, oh, all right. So our sensibilities have changed.
It's funny because you say that, because I noticed that the Pretty Woman was rated R.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell was Nora rated?
Exactly.
Yeah, it was probably pretty close to that NC-17, right?
I mean, I'm not.
Or just how
one
it's changed.
to-
You're not a prude? Is what you're
I'm not
about to say?
opposed to, boobs in a movie, but there's just a whole lot of nudity in this movie, like an alarming amount, I would say. Like,
Yeah.
to watch 2 different movies that deal with similar themes be presented in such different ways. Yes, things have changed in that time.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done. As I looked up, Sean Baker and seeing all the stuff that he did, actually, I noticed that in the credits when it's like casting, Sean Baker, editing, Sean Baker, writer, director, Sean Baker. I'm like, oh, okay. So this is what happens when you are a movie studio and you just back away and let the filmmaker do what he wants to do.
We were just talking about it with David Lynch, right? Our episode a few episodes ago. And Mike Petras listened to that episode, and he was saying, he's like, you guys should talk about Sean Baker. Like, here's a guy who's able to, kind of be nurtured and do his own thing, and yeah, essentially that's the case, and it's worked out for him. I haven't seen any of his other movies.
I was going to
though,
say,
is the
I was going
problem.
to ask, did you guys know any of his other movies?
I've heard of Tangerine, Florida Project, and Red Rocket. I'm pretty sure I started Florida Project because it was on Netflix
Was that,
a couple years ago with Willem Dafoe.
Defoe, right.
So-
I remember that being nominated, I
Yeah.
think, and no one, it kind of was like a big deal that it was nominated at the time.
And I never finished it, and I'm mad that I didn't, and I'm a bad film buff, film nerd for not having seen any of his other movies that I have heard good things about. But we got around to Anora. So
We got to one. Well, it had to win an Oscar for Martin to win.
I mean, obviously, that's
I
his
think
only
the other,
criteria.
Like you said, the other ones were nominated or something.
This
so.
one won 7, so
It was on my
He's
my
like,
radar.
all right, you've met the quota that I require to expend
7.
my time.
But all of them, I mean, Rotten Tomato scores as well. Tangerine is 96, Florida Project 96, Red Rocket 90, Anora 93.
Well, if you had seen his movies, and
Yeah.
as I said, I have not. Karen Carigulian, who played
Yeah.
Toros,
Yeah.
the man who I quoted in the beginning of the movie for not having Instagram, has been in all of Sean Baker's films, and this was his biggest role. And he met Sean Baker at NYU when he was like 20 years old, and this is where they are now.
So as I was watching, I was kind of feeling for that, like waiting for the shoe to drop, right? Like waiting for the fairy tale to disappear.
Yeah.
And then it does in the living room scene, but I think that scene, I think they did a really good job with that, because it was funny until it wasn't.
Yeah.
And it's still like, yeah, that would be absolutely terrifying
Yeah.
to be a girl, and 3 guys are
Yeah.
tracking you down, but then like the whole like, why are you tying her up? Don't tie her up. We're not doing this.
Yeah.
There's
I
so
think
much
that's why it's a
yelling and
good-
screaming in like in an organized chaos way.
Yeah.
That. Sorry, Martin, I cut you off.
No.
But they all have. To your point, there's the female dynamic of being like, what? There's a lot going on. Her husband, who she's like essentially leaning in and really going in with, is showing his immaturity and essentially fleeing. You have this Russian-ish gangster.
Armenian.
Arme-
he was Russian.
Yeah,
Garik.
Igor.
Yeah, Igor was Russian, but the other two are Armenian. That's why I was also like, doesn't she understand what they're saying? But like, no, they're speaking Armenian.
They're Armenian,
Yeah.
but the Russian is essentially like somewhat compassionate to her. He's just there, but then is forced to like being told he needs to do something, and so he's restraining her, which is
Right.
obviously not good.
Not cool, bro.
And then you have the Armenian who's like trying not to be like an asshole about it, but then obviously gets kicked in the face. And, and so there's your comedy that you're talking about. Like, there's so much going on.
That's even after he runs after him and slips on the ice and has to come back in limping.
Yeah. I think, and it's just like, I think Sean Baker showing that he knows movies. I think he's a movie buff, like understands film history and understands what he's doing in every scene for that sense. Like, again, the first half is just like this fairy tale, but it's not. It's almost very real too. But the music when they get married finally, I think it's in the beginning that way and at the end, and you feel like, oh, maybe this is gonna be okay. But like you're saying, there's this sense of dread too. Like, it can't be. It's not just gonna end up that way. And then yes, by this point, yeah, there's elements of comedy that you're like, but should I be laughing? And you're because you really are kind of terrified for her, and you don't know her. It's like you're probably pretty sure they're not going to kill her because she's the main character. Yeah, but still, like you're not sure how bad it's going to get.
Right. Yeah,
and that was palpable. Yeah,
that you could get to all the scenarios very easily,
very quickly. Yeah.
So. Yeah, you're 100% right. That is obviously where things shift to, act 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's kind of like a three-parter.
Yeah,
you got that. Yeah, you got the fairy tale, the pretty woman, basically.
Yeah,
the real life pretty woman in the beginning, and then you have the screwball-y, farcy, comedic hunt for the Hangover.
With that, there is this underlying terror.
There's also scary. Crime, whatever. And you also don't know. I like that too, that they just show the Wikipedia page or whatever of the dad, or they don't show the page.
They don't even show it. They just look it up.
I'm saying, like, he's got a lot of money, but you don't know why. You don't know.
His presence is looming.
Right. You don't know if he's rich for doing seedy shit.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I would assume most people followed the train of thought I did and assumed essentially the worst.
Yeah.
So
totally.
You just automatically are like, yes, there is. I mean, it's enough that there are priests and other hoodlums like working for him that are you know at the drop of a
the guy's at his baptism.
Yeah, they're scared enough of him.
He leaves the baptism. It's like I gotta
holding the baby
to make sure that they get the marriage annulled. But there was a part of me that I was like, yeah, absolutely, she's doing it right. I would never be like, yeah, I'm just gonna get divorced or annul without getting paid. And even when she confronts the mom and on the plane, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be the redemption of it. But no, she caves. But yeah, rightfully so too, because she just knows there's no way.
When she
agrees to the 10,000.
As long as I and I was like, I get to
talk to him. Yeah.
I felt like a little bit of me was like, oh no,
yeah,
like
right.
it just you like thought she was like this gonna straight up fight for herself. I don't know why, like where that necessarily. I don't know. That's how I felt.
It's just because we're used to it in movies, and that's what I'm saying. Like I think Sean Baker played on all of our emotions in this, and it's why Mikey Madison. Again, the first 50 minutes, I'm like, nah. I'm like, I don't know if she deserves to win, and then by then, I'm like, yeah, okay, I can see why she won.
I don't disagree with you. Because at first I was like, damn. I'm like, I said. My thought was, has anyone ever won an Academy Award and been naked the entire time? And I don't know that she did anything that really blew you away in that first act per se. But yeah, there's so much more happening, and she has got quite the fucking New York accent going on.
Yeah, that's right. I said you, motherfucker.
But she was fantastic, and my disbelief that
Vanya.
there's somehow another megastar now in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because she was just a girl in that movie.
Oh, I don't even know. I didn't even know.
She's at the end. She's one of the people who breaks in. Who gets like?
Does she get the thing?
Yeah,
to the
she
face?
gets smashed against the.
That's her. But she was just a girl. And now she's a Best Fucking Actress winner.
Yeah.
That movie already had an insane cast.
Yeah,
and she just launched from random girl in movie to, which, funnily enough, per Sean Baker, and he alluded to this at the Oscars, because Tarantino presented the award to him for Best Director. And per Sean Baker, he was already a fan of Mikey Madison, but after seeing her in that movie, he said he started rewatching it just to watch her scenes, and like that was who he wanted for this movie. And he said it when Tarantino presented him the award. His speech right in the beginning, he's like, he was, I think, in disbelief that like he was getting this from Tarantino. He said he's like Mikey Madison's only in this movie because of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Look at you dropping on your Oscar knowledge, bro. I love it.
I saw.
It's like somebody watched it.
I saw 30 minutes of the Oscars. But it's crazy because
Yeah.
that was, we talked about this when we did Once Upon a Time. It was like, oh my God, it's a who's who, and it's like this
you
girl
have
just
another-
launched into that category now.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's it's funny how that you can do a role like that, which is, I would say, I wouldn't have saw that movie and been like, this is it, that's the girl, you know?
Right.
But
This is the girl.
I don't make movies.
You'll see anybody else you want, but this is the girl. Yeah, it was very different, like I said, than anything I had anticipated. And, even like them going around New York and trying to find the spots where he could have been and trying to track him down. When I was laughing because when Garrick's in the front seat and he just starts throwing up and it just like oozes out.
It's so real.
It was like, oh no.
I
That was one of the
he
better
really
throw-ups.
does have a concussion. They need to get him to the hospital. He just keeps like passing out, and you're not supposed to sleep.
That was
with
one of
a
the better
concussion.
throw up scenes I think I've seen. It was not anywhere where you were like, oh, that's obviously
Right.
fake. It was like, oh God, I think this is happening on film. It's amazing.
And then the whole thing of like them getting out and he's like, my wife has to drive this car tomorrow. Like, they're all like,
I'm never getting in that car. They're all in there with their mouth covered up.
Yeah.
That's the
Do you think it's
comedy
possible to back off of a
and rip your front bumper
yeah,
off?
if you're on a what do you call it,
A
tow
truck.
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 They
Yeah.
shouldn't have been hooked to the bumper.
you're hooked on
They
Mater?
should have been hooked to
the
like
frame,
a
the
frame,
axle.
which should have not allowed that, in my
Right,
opinion.
that's what I think.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't know enough about
Right.
towing.
It doesn't feel like that was accurate.
I
but
would like
okay.
to think that guy would. There is a money limit where he'd be like, all right, dude, cool.
Yeah, I'm taking
Yeah.
I'm taking it off now for
Right.
Yeah.
Because
And
they pretty much are trying like whatever the fuck you want, we'll solve your problem. But yeah, steadfastly be like, nope, I got to get paid $14 an hour to do this. So yeah, I don't think that would technically happen, but it was it was funny. It was a funny scene.
when the parents land,
yeah.
are those customs dogs or DEA dogs that go on the plane? Remember
I haven't flown private.
Martin?
Me neither. Why are you looking at me? Did you think I had? No,
You
I
fly a
don't know.
lot. I was just maybe.
So wait, the I didn't even remember like the dogs like
Yeah,
they were
it's
sniffing them as
such
they
a-
walked by.
Such a
such a
minuscule
gelati.
part of the
Well, they were just standing there as soon as the parents got off the plane.
Yeah,
the
there
dogs
were,
went on
There
the
were
plane.
two agents in the hangar waiting with a dog. I would assume it's, well, I don't
Customs
know
or
if it's TSA,
Yeah.
who the fuck it is. But
Customs, but they're going for probably
They're going to
looking for
check-
drugs.
they're going to check for
It's the only
drugs.
thing that smells. Yeah,
Which it's not the same plane they took to Vegas, obviously, right?
I don't know.
No, it would have come from Russia.
Right. So
Yeah, they were
Okay.
that plane was clean. The Russian plane, who knows? I'm sorry, the
Vegas
plane.
Yeah.
The one that Vanya.
Vanya took.
What a fucking character, man. That was the thing, like, and the cover of this, I think you see the two together, so I think that got me into it too. I'm like, oh, are they gonna end up being okay? Is this a not star-crossed lovers, but like, yeah, is it a fairy tale? Is he gonna end up sticking up for her and being more than he seems? No, absolutely not. There's way less to him.
Yeah,
Just takes
I
off.
think you got.
And when he says, "Are you fucking stupid?" Just really well written.
I think you got plenty of hints of that too. Where
Yeah,
it
you
was
did.
the video games. It's
Right.
like she's
Yeah.
trying to be.
you were just trying to ignore it, like, or at least I was, is what I'm saying. Like, again, watching a lot of, how rom-coms are supposed to work, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe, but no, all the signs were there,
Yeah,
and she knew it too. She was a realist.
Yeah, I think
she's like,
so,
don't
too.
fucking, like, I'm leaving you. You're not getting married.
but she was like, "I'm getting paid. I pretty much have to be here."
Yeah, yeah.
But otherwise, like, yeah, this is clearly. I think she was never unaware of what was going on, but the reality of it hitting with a bunch of guys rolling in
Yeah.
was maybe not what she was ready for.
Yeah, and they borrowed that line from when they were negotiating the price. It's like, oh, I would have paid
Totally.
I would have taken 10 or something. I would have paid 30.
Yeah.
You know, from Pretty Woman. Yeah,
The Pretty Woman variant. I mean, you're not wrong though. That is the fairy tale Pretty Woman aspect throughout.
Hooker with the Heart of Gold story, right?
Yeah, I appreciated that it ended up back at headquarters, HQ. I think was the name of the strip club. And
With Diamond.
So like the bringing in that like feud that she had. She gets scratched.
Yeah.
I liked all of that.
You think she would have thought to go there in the first place?
I did. That did cross my mind when they were out on the hunt,
But,
and they're out on the shore, and they went to that like restaurant, and they like took over the
microphone
party.
They straight crashed a real party.
Really?
That was completely like a guerrilla.
That's
they said
awesome.
guerrilla style filmmaking. They like walked in and just did it, and like so legit. No one knew what the hell was going on.
That's awesome.
Yes,
It
I
did
agree.
look that
That's why
way, 'cause
I saw it.
was-
I was like, this has got to be said.
Yeah, was it a Greek restaurant?
Something. It was something. I think, but
I
it did look really legit. So that's why.
It
'cause
did. It
really
also
was.
felt weird that like at 11 a.m. there was like this dancing shindig going on. This is
Is
morning.
that what time it was?
This is like lunch.
Really? I thought it was
believe-
night
yeah,
by
I
that
thought
point.
it was a little
was
later
dark.
because when they got out, it was dark.
Later, it just kept going all night. But I think that was like early.
I thought it was like more like 6 p.m. at least or 7. I don't know. Whatever.
Maybe.
Who knows?
It could have been the
We're
early
getting
bird special.
technicalities.
They were all in.
The Greeks, they love to eat early.
They love to eat early. You
They
got
love
things
to eat
do.
all night. They were drinking ouzo and
Right. This party's not stopping. But yeah, that was crazy because again, him walking in and like asking like everybody, have you seen this kid? And he's got no pictures of him. He's like, they're pulling up the Instagram, which of course a kid that age is not going to have like a straight up profile picture. It's going to be like him doing drugs or his hair all crazy or whatever. Like
His hair was all crazy.
and then going to the rest of the different places where they're trying to track him down and finally getting back to HQ. My question was, do you think they spent a ton of the budget on clearing the DMX song?
which DMX song was it?
Where the Hood At, I believe, is the one that they used.
I don't know. You think it's a costly song?
I just think DMX, and because all the other songs, with the exception of the Tattoo song, I don't think I've heard it.
I
Well,
like that. That was a good song.
We should, if we're talking about songs, we should talk about them breaking Sean Baker breaking one of the major rules.
Using it twice.
I think he used it 3 times.
Oh, really?
This could be the greatest day of our lives song. I think they used it 3 times.
Definitely in the beginning, right?
Very beginning. That's the intro is the
Yeah.
and then in the beginning. I think it was 3. Maybe I'm wrong, and it actually was 2. But
I'm okay with it because it kind of bookends.
I didn't.
If there was a third time, I don't like it. But if it was only the 2 that I noticed,
you
it was
think
only
you
beca-
gotta find something else. Personally, we've
I agree. But I don't know. It just. If you ended it there, then it would have been like, yeah, that's stupid to use the same song. But because it kind of bookends that now the fairy tale is over, it started that way, ended that way. I think it works for that reason. If that's what he was thinking.
Oh yeah.
But maybe not. But I agree with you. There's that cardinal rule.
They
that we
came
have.
back, and I was like, no. Best picture one using
Right.
doing this,
and that's what I'm saying. Like at this point, I was like, still not a best picture for me.
Yeah.
But yeah. Where do we go? Where do we want to talk?
Did you like the dad?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. I
When he
loved
just-
it when he was started cracking up about
just
it.
starts
I'm
laughing.
like, okay, so he's not. Maybe he's
No
not this
one's ever
hard
talked to
criminal.
his
I think
wife
they were
about
more.
it like
Yes,
that.
I think they were probably all more scared of the wife, and they did hint at that too because they're like, talking to her and like, your mom. I've never heard your mom cry. That whole thing, and I think that's what it was. They were more scared of her than him because he just thought, and it just reminded me of my family a little bit. Like if my dad finds something funny, he would laugh just like that. Maybe not quite as hard, but he would find that amusing. Like someone just talking to someone that they're not. I don't know. Us Polish people find that shit funny.
Well, I think it's funny as well because it's like when they're
Eastern
on the
Europeans, I
plane
should
and
say.
they're all saying like, oh, it's a pleasure to work for your family
Yeah,
and do all
right,
this stuff, and the dad's just kind of like sitting there like not listening, and then they also used the mom's maiden name, maybe.
Yeah, maybe the Galinova. Or
Yeah.
whatever.
That was like Stepanova or whatever.
Something like that,
Because it wasn't the same last name as him.
Right.
As Vanya or the dad.
So she clearly is the rules the roost.
Right. But then I thought they were again, the romantic story would have you, Igor and her hooking up at the end and kind of ending it there.
I mean,
Like being together.
being together.
I'll say,
as
That's what I
opposed
mean.
to
they
hooking
did
up.
literally do that.
Yeah.
They literally hooked up.
but
yeah.
yeah, being together, like when they're in Vanya's house at the very end, like I thought they were gonna, spin it to like, oh yeah, let's start to get together, and then I think the ending was pretty good. Like,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
the way they ended, and it's like, yeah, this isn't really the way she wanted things to.
I would
No.
say that's, in my opinion, that's probably as much a reason as any why she won.
Yeah, I mean,
Like-
I think the whole movie clinches on that ending because it leaves you this whole like, okay, you're kind of like, oh, is that it? But you're also like, nope, that's exactly how it should end, and it's just played so well. They don't say a word, but he clearly has a thing for it. Like you could see that
all
early.
the time.
The whole
Right.
time you're like, he definitely likes her, and she's not stupid. She knows when the guy likes her, and she whatever has some feel or just wants to feel maybe something, so she jumps on top of him, and when he tries to kiss her, she's like, no, it like breaks the whole transactional.
Can't kiss on the mouth.
Right, exactly. And another parallel with Pretty Woman there. And then, but then she just realizes, I think, everything that she just went through and just breaks down.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe they have some type of a relationship going forward, but it's nothing like what she was gonna have that she thought she had. Some marriage to this.
No, Igor
hugely
lives with
rich
his mom and
right
the
with his
tower.
grandma. They're in his grandma's car.
grandma's, yeah.
Yeah.
In his grandma's car, and yeah, he's a decent guy probably, but they're not. They're never gonna get. And he's probably fired because he's said something to
Oh, I would say because he ended up with a ring, but
that too. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Right, but yeah, just the way he talked and said you owe her an apology, and so it's really really good ending.
I was really intrigued by the ring, and I wasn't going to go digging, but I actually ended up seeing,
5 carats.
assuming she's telling the truth about the quality of the ring would be worth right around $160K. So
All right, that makes me feel a
as soon
little
as she
better for
said it,
10K
and
is a
they
little
took
low.
it, it was like, oh, you fucking idiot! It was like you gave up the only thing. Like they weren't going to come out. They weren't taking that. Like that would have been like whoop pocket, like out of everyone's sight.
That was the thing when she was saying like what's going on? Like I know she didn't understand Armenian or whatever they were saying, but like you could probably figure out where this might be going. So yes, to your point.
Don't be like, he gave me this ring. We're married. It was like, no, you just fucked that all big time. And Taurus was like, I'll take that. Thank you.
Yeah, he was a creepy dude too.
Taurus was great. I thought he was. I felt like he was great because he legitimately conveyed that he was terrified of the family.
Yeah.
Right.
And he was doing everything he could to essentially, I took it as like not get killed by failing to do what he should have been doing all along. It was
Right,
like
because he wasn't there watching.
Yeah, but
the
he's
whole
like
time like he was
legitimately a
supposed
priest trying to like, live that life and then simultaneously reporting to a mother and father who
have nefarious dealings
who
potentially.
could essentially change things dramatically for him.
Yeah, I agree. It all he.
And I thought he did a great
They
job
felt
of it.
yeah. I thought he did too. Like they
And he
felt
was
real.
funny at times. Like I said, the Instagram comment was really funny. He was like just a man out of his time, like just trying to do what he was. All I need to do is find this kid, and you guys are fucking ruining it. And he's like, he just kind of was like losing his mind. I really felt like he
Yeah,
actually crushed it.
and he's yelling about the Gen Z kids that don't have.
he just like he was like on edge. He was teetering, and like that put him over the top.
Yeah,
He was at the house on New Year's, right? He was the
He
one that
was.
told the
Yes.
guy to get off the couch.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
him
so
and
he
the
was
other
supposed to probably be
Armenian.
around.
Igor was
more.
not that I saw, but
Right.
the two Armenians were.
Yeah, because they
brothers.
asked to grab Igor.
Oh, brothers, you think?
Yeah, aren't they brothers? Didn't they say they
Garik
were?
and Toros.
Yeah, I thought they said it.
Oh, I missed that if they were.
Oh, I took it
No,
as
either way.
as they were, but maybe
Yeah.
I'm wrong. Maybe I just made that up. But
Let someone tell you you're wrong.
I guess not super important to the story, but yeah. Tattoo. That was a good song.
That was a great Russian pull. I know, we all know that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great call. The tattoo pull was that one hit.
Yeah. So then, just briefly on Pretty Woman, obviously you could see some of the inspirations here. Going back and watching this was
Have you guys seen Pretty Woman recently at all? I have not.
Funnily enough, I saw it recently. That's why I had it on my mind when I was
Gotcha.
watching this. I'm like, it's so weird.
Yeah, you called that
I
out.
randomly
I definitely
watched
did not.
it. So I'm like, and before I sent it, I said we should probably do it with this before I even finished it. And then afterwards, I was like, okay, we don't really have to, but I already told you guys to do it.
I was
So.
like, I woke up to that note. So.
You're right. Scrounged around and found it streaming. So.
So it works, yeah. Like this, still the focus is definitely on Nora, and you know you see that Pretty Woman is just very much not reality.
Oh my god!
You know, so much more that would never happen.
Yeah, that's a movie I don't need to probably rewatch.
Although Julia Roberts is delightful,
She's really striking.
it's really something,
in
right?
that movie. Like, it's. Although I did discover since watching it and researching it that she's got a body double.
I was going to say she had to.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They never show her face except for like
Yeah.
one time.
It was her name. I have it somewhere. I thought it was. I was just like, oh man! And they said it was even the poster, the movie poster, is a different. It's her head on a woman's
Well,
body.
poster, I know they do that sometimes, but in the movie, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Weird. I did not save it. I wanted to.
Did you notice the cop on the street?
Oh, Shelley Michelle is the woman's name.
She works at
Shelley
HQ.
Michelle.
If you look her up, you're still not going to know her, but she has been in things.
She's been in Seinfeld with George Costanza.
I thought she might have been in like a ski school, but she was in like a beach version of like,
Beach Patrol.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say,
Lonnie?
did you recognize the cop on the street in the beginning?
No, but
Oh well, yeah, you did.
did I?
Yeah, it was
I can't
Hank
remember.
Hank Azaria?
Oh, okay. No, I didn't really.
didn't.
Oh,
I
you
didn't
didn't
really
catch-
notice
okay,
it.
yeah.
I didn't catch it.
Definitely saw Hank Azaria. The landlord at the hotel was shit.
The manager?
At the motel.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry,
It was
apologies for saying hotel. That was
yeah.
Hector Elizondo. The motel for where Julia Roberts
Yes.
lived or
With
whatever
Kit.
was that dude who's been a creepy old guy, and I think actually was like the landlord for the show Friends, and lived. I'm pretty sure
Okay.
He
I
was.
know the guy. He's
it's Larry Hankin.
Oh, okay. I know. what you're talking
Recognizable.
about. Yes.
I said the name and that did it for Martin.
No, but I
Oh,
did.
Larry Hankin.
No, it wasn't the name, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes, yeah, he was recognizable.
I didn't realize key cards started in the 90s.
Yeah, right.
Because he missed keys.
Because he was so
Yeah,
annoyed.
he was
they were
annoyed
new
with it,
tech.
yeah.
She's like, I don't have that cardboard thing or whatever. What?
And then
Only for fancy,
Right.
Beverly
Yeah,
Hills
it actually,
hotels. are
it
the
actually
best.
didn't start around here until like
probably
2000.
only for the penthouse.
Mortimer Duke as Mr. Lewis. This was his Ralph Bellamy's last film. And then the one line that stood out to me is $50, Grandpa. For 75, your wife can watch. And I just thought of Lebowski.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, that's where they got it.
Yep, I totally
Brand Cat Watchers extra.
did not pick that up either.
Loved Hector Elizondo.
He's
Yeah,
great.
he was
man.
great.
So good.
I saw there was they didn't have enough money for him, whatever he asked. And Gary Marshall was like, I'll pay it out of pocket because he really, really wanted him in the role. And then the studio actually at the end was like, we'll take care of it.
Yeah, that was a good call.
Yeah.
I think he was
The right
a lot
guy
of the heart
for
of
that
the movie.
Yeah, I mean it softened her whole thing. Like he started where everyone started. You shouldn't even be in this hotel. To helping her get acclimated to high society and get attired.
Yeah.
Big mistake. Huge.
So I
great
started
scene.
watching it with Jen, and she was word for word like quoting it up until when she fell asleep, and she's like, "When did I fall asleep?" And she's like, "I know exactly when I fell asleep. It was right before she got the champagne." Because she's like, "The last thing I remember is the doorbell." She's like, "What's that?" Like, because that's what Julia Roberts says.
She knows. Yeah,
knows
I
the
mean,
movie in and out.
I figured it wouldn't be a tough sell to have your wives rewatch Pretty Woman.
I told Mary, I said, I actually have to watch Pretty Woman tonight, and that wasn't enough. She's like, I don't.
She was tired, too tired, but she'd seen it before.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
yeah, no doubt.
women of a certain age have all seen this
I mean,
movie.
everyone, I think, of a certain age. This was a huge movie.
It was really huge.
and
I
it
mean,
spawned literally
propelled her to
Yeah.
the stratosphere.
and
right?
she is really. I said it like, but I noticed it multiple times. Like, she is. I get it. I wouldn't say like, for the most part, I necessarily like think Julia Roberts is like really super attractive.
Oh, she's always been
really,
in
really
top of my
sexy
list.
in this movie.
Yeah.
And like the way she's laughing and like just how playful she is in that regard. Like, I feel like top notch.
Yeah. There's a cute element.
Everything came out of
There's
this.
a hot element. It's all there.
Well, you like someone else's body, but just so
Yeah, but
Shelley Michelle. We should be considering our Seinfeld love. We should at least acknowledge that
Yeah.
Jason Alexander.
and George, what a tool. Worst character in film, worst villain in film history. Everybody, what's his name? Stuckey.
Philip Stuckey.
Philip Stuckey,
Just a
the lawyer from hell.
It was just it. I remember that he was in it,
Yeah.
but it was, and I remember like him being kind of sleazy and
Yeah.
trying to like make a pass at her or whatever. But
I remember the past. I don't remember him full
Hitting
on
her?
assaulting her.
yeah,
hitting her,
that I don't remember either. But it's like it's funny. It's funny to see the disparity between. I mean, he is clearly known for one particular thing, and it's not Shallow Hal. But it is to see him in that like completely opposing that.
Yeah,
you
the
know.
heel role.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
because I knew him from Seinfeld before I ever saw this, and so when you see him, you're like, "Oh, there's George Costanza. This is gonna be great. It's gonna be fun, loving sidekick." And then you're just
George, no.
like, "Don't do this, George. Make better choices." But yeah, he was a dick.
And then song in this one, King of Wishful Thinking.
Yeah,
Dude,
It's such a good song.
I remember like
Who's that? What is that? Go West, or is that
yeah,
the name of the band?
I
Yeah.
remember having not me, but like I think my mom had the soundtrack and like we would play it in the
Yeah, I
car.
can
Like
see
the
that.
soundtrack was like
Banging.
You had that. You had the Wild One song,
Real
Yeah.
Wild One.
Yeah.
And Pretty Woman,
Pretty
of course.
Woman, Roy Orbison, and It Must Have Been Love.
Yeah, that's right. Must
Like,
have known. Who is that? by?
Roxette.
Roxette. I love Roxette. I really do. Roxette has some bangers.
Dude, it was like so. It was those are like the four anchors, but I mean the soundtrack was like
Yeah.
pretty fucking great. Like you could that was a throw on.
Yeah,
and you were good.
that's very much early '90s, pre-alternative, pre-grunge stuff, where it was just still like
Orbison,
Roxette was
Pretty
big.
Woman, obviously older.
obviously, yeah,
But yeah, it was
Surprised they didn't have the Van Halen cover of Pretty Woman.
it was great. This was a popular one, and that King of Wishful Thinking obviously like put them on the map.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before. I don't know why I would have mentioned it, but have you guys seen Jimmy Fallon and Paul Rudd do a shot-for-shot costume and all remake of the music video?
I feel like I have.
yes.
It's great. I don't know why it is, but it is. It's just that the attention to detail that they pay, and you see how ridiculous in 1990 the music video is, and it's Paul Rudd, so it just makes you laugh.
Of course.
Some slapping the bass really high.
Yeah. No. That movie like there's a reason it sticks with women of a certain age specifically, but I mean I think it launched a career. I mean Richard Gere is
A thing,
a thing. Exactly.
an officer and a gentleman, and Pretty Woman.
He's just an attractive man who gets roles now and again.
But yeah, I think I think to tie it back to Honora, I think it just makes because this movie is so iconic, and because you could take that and play on our emotions, you get a movie like Honora, and it makes such a higher impact. And the ending and everything for it. And I think that's a big part of it why it won is because it took this story, made it real, and then flipped it on its head or whatever, and ended it with just a super sad, melancholy ending.
Yeah. I think it kind of, like you said, it makes the fairy tale of all of this like this is kind of how it probably would play out, right? Like, it's not like,
Yeah.
oh, you're riding off in the white steed, you're flying off into the sunset in the private jet. It's
Like I said, when he says, "Are you stupid?"
Well,
Yeah,
it's closer to the.
she's not stupid. That's
it's
the thing.
Diamond saying like, "I give it 2 weeks,"
yeah.
and her being like, "I'm going to my mansion now."
Yeah.
You know, instead of like, there's zero at the moment. You're fine. Like, I don't necessarily disagree with you that she's like aware of kind of this, but
Yeah.
she was.
But she bought in.
She
Yeah.
was all in. Like, she was very naive to the fact that like this could happen to her, and I don't know when that flip.
I think we all are. Is the thing.
when that switch got flipped, but it legitimately it was. She was like, no, this is like my life is better. It's solved,
Yeah.
and it was fleeting.
Yep. Could turn on a dime.
As always, this pod is so good we almost peed our pants. You should listen every week by subscribing wherever you listen. Thanks, and go to bed.